and this is another Bleacher Report, because I know a lot of people are like, where's this coming from? Trade targets. And they had 3 names for the Detroit Pistons to possibly trade for. And the 3 names that Bleacher Report had in their article were Karl Anthony Towns, Brandon Ingram, and Corey Kispert. So I want to ask you, out of these 3 names, which one intrigues you the most?
The most intriguing, it would be the biggest fish of them all. I mean, I think Cat would be perfect here. It's going to take a lot to get him. I just don't see that happening, but the most intriguing would obviously be him. I think he does a great job being able to stretch the floor. Showed out as one of the best shooters in all of basketball last season. Kind of was able to complement Rudy Gobert, which a lot of people thought was going to be a question mark with Minnesota. And I don't know. I think I'm honestly kind of surprised he's even a trade target at this point. I think as Minnesota is ascending, I feel like they would want to hold on to him and kind of keep that core together, especially as Anthony Edwards is on an upward trajectory. I don't really understand why he would be on the block right now. But if there's a way you could go get Cat, I wouldn't blame them at all. I think Karl Anthony Towns is a fantastic player. He does funny stuff that people clown on social media, but I just think as an overall player, he fits. He makes a lot of sense. He can create his own shot, which is something that this front court needs desperately. I think he makes a lot of sense. Brandon Ingram, I like him a lot too. His contract kind of worries me just because he's on I think he has a year left on it. So if you were to trade for him, you basically have to kind of guarantee an ability to re-sign him. And I don't know if the Pistons are going to be good enough to talk him into doing that based on where they are. Like if they win 30 games, we'll be happy. But will he be happy enough to want to come back? That's what I'm worried about with him. And that's kind of been my conversation kind of all off season. Kispert, I think, is a good player. He should want to come here for the many times that he's had to guard Cade Cunningham and get baptized by him. I still remember that rookie year dunk that he had on him on the road. That was fantastic. I like Kispert a lot. I think he'd be a good role player. I think he would make sense for kind of what they need. If you kind of plug him on the bench, he'd be a good staggered rotation piece for the front court or the back court, depending on where you play him. But yeah, the most intriguing to me for sure will be Karl Anthony Towns.
I agree there with Cat, especially the way the NBA is heading. Like a lot of teams now are 4 out or 5 out. And in my opinion, Cat is the best stretch 5 in the NBA. I don't even think it's close. I think the main reason why Bleacher Report had him probably in a trade target for the Detroit Pistons is, one, when you look at the contract, it's really huge. And let's say Minnesota has a down year. Do they really want to get into that second apron tax? Like, do they really want to keep that team together? Mm-hmm. Now, don't get me wrong. Minnesota has a lot of talent. Like you mentioned, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert. Like, it's a very good team, and I really like their coach in Chris Finch. Like, I think he's a really underrated coach. People don't really talk about him enough in terms of just like being like one of the top tier coaches. I think he's on his way personally. But I think the reason why Bleacher Report had that in there is just because of the contract. And, if it doesn't work and they don't, make an NBA finals or at least win a championship, that's a very expensive team to, keep together. And maybe they want to get some draft picks to, restock their cupboard because it's completely bare of first round picks. I think that's kind of like the thinking Bleacher Report was having. And maybe the Pistons could kind of, after maybe the Isaiah Stewart, protections are gone, you look down that road, but hey, man, you never really know. I do agree. I think Cat would probably be the most desirable. Ingram, I feel like I've talked about Brandon Ingram at nauseum this offseason, Eric. I don't know about you, writing articles over at Clutchpoints.
Yes.
It seems like if Trajan Langdon wasn't here, I don't think there would be so much noise about Brandon Ingram.
Absolutely.
Obviously, Trajan was there when they acquired him for a trade. He knows him very well. Obviously, the optics are, he wants, max money, and the Pelicans aren't really willing to give him what he wants. And he's got one more year left on his deal. And you look at the Pelicans roster, much like Minnesota, a very expensive roster, just traded for DeJounte Murray. Keep an eye on them. You never know. Like you said, if they underperform, 30 wins, I think, would be unacceptable for a team that expensive with so much star power. Right. Now, is he a player that you try to trade for and plug in? Not really sure after acquiring Tobias Harris. I don't know. I really don't know. I like him as a player. I think he's nice, but I think there are clear like signs of health because he's not always available.
Right.
And when you're asking for that max type of money, I think most fans would probably want 65 to 70 games out of you a year. And I don't really know if Brandon Ingram is durable enough to, give that to an organization, especially if he came to Detroit. I think he would probably be like, 1B to Cade Cunningham. Is he willing to, take those 20 to 25 shots a night or, take on the best, be a defensive menace out there, like, lock down, like, play a full 48 minutes, don't take plays off. I'm not really sure if Brandon Ingram could do that night in and night out and stay healthy consistently. I think Corey Kispert on this list is probably the most realistic.
Right.
If you're looking for a guy that's just a smart, sound basketball player, I think Corey Kispert's kind of underrated in a sense. He's not a household name by any means, but I think he could definitely give the Pistons some good minutes off the bench, or whether you want to start him or not.
Yeah, I've definitely been back and forth on Ingram a lot. I've been solidified in my pick where I just don't think it would make sense to go after him right now. I really thought he was going to be on the move too. Like there was rumors that Cleveland was interested in him, and I thought that was a perfect landing spot for him. I'm shocked that didn't happen. Like there are other teams who could have used him as that stretch 3-4 good shooter, good shot creator on his own, and even got better as a passer too. Not the best defender, but I think his offensive skill set kind of makes up for that, especially when you like if you were to go to a Cleveland, if you have those kind of defenders around you, you're not really going to rely on him to be this lockdown, shutdown dude. It's just not going to happen. But for the Pistons per se, like you said, when you've been in a situation where New Orleans for a while was rebuilding and then they're on a trajectory where they're starting to win and put some momentum together, I don't know if he's going to be excited to come to a place like Detroit where he could succeed. And I think it could work with Cade Cunningham. I don't think that would be like a conflict of their skill sets, but it's in terms of where they are as a team. Like I said, I think 30 wins is obviously a positive sign based on what we've seen over the past few seasons. But for him, or for a player like him of his stature, who, again, he's still relatively young, which is crazy. It feels like he's been in the league for 15 years. But for me, like, I just don't think he would want to stick around based on what his timeline looks like. And if you were to trade for him to make that happen, you would have to give up a lot and try to guarantee a contract. I just don't see that happening for him. Like, he makes more sense on a team that's like maybe a piece or two away to kind of set established, or stick with New Orleans. I think they're in a good position too to kind of break through as one of those up and coming teams in the West. So yeah, obviously the other Kispert makes the most sense. Those other two just kind of seem like pie in the sky dreams. Because I can see them on the move, but I don't know if the Pistons would be the most likely spot for them to end up.
Troy Weaver putting protections on that pick has actually kind of kept the Pistons out of trouble, to say.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think a lot of fans, and I know this is completely off topic of what these guys were talking about, but, like, anytime I make a video or, do a podcast topic about, like, a big name like an Ingram or Karl Anthony Towns, the one comment I get is, that'd be another Blake Griffin move. You trade all your assets. You might win a couple of games, but you're not going to win a championship because of it. Right. Those are win now moves. We're not ready for win now moves. We're ready for marginal moves to keep, stacking more than 20 wins in a season. Let's try to get to 30 and see where we're at and evaluate that. Which I tend to agree with the fans. Like Cat, to me, I think would be a win now move. You think you're Karl Anthony Towns away from possibly making an Eastern Conference Finals or trying to compete for an NBA Finals. Like I don't think any of these guys, if you trade for them now, that the Pistons would win a championship right off the bat. I think they need more talent. They need the guys around them, their core, to develop more to kind of give you a better indication of where this team could, be, 3-4 years out.
That Blake Griffin comparison is so spot on. Because you're in a position now. I mean, obviously, I remember what Blake did. He was sensational. He was the clear-cut best player on that team. And if, granted, it wouldn't be a terrible thing to have Cat come in with the Pistons and be the best player, but the most important player on that team is Cade Cunningham. You need to see what you have in him. You need to see Jaden Ivey kind of take that next step. You need to see Duren kind of show that he's one of the most valuable pieces moving forward with this franchise. And if you're leaning solely on one of those two guys, that means something else happened bad with the other 2 or 3 that you still have, like Asar as well. So I think a lot has to still be invested into those young pieces that they brought in. again, those kind of guys would help, but I don't think it lines up with their timeline in any way, shape, or form at this moment. It doesn't make sense. Tobias is perfect based on what they need, based on the contract he got. These are just, like I said, they just seem like pie in the sky. Again, I understand the scenario of them moving. I just don't see it happening with the Pistons.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think fun to write about, fun to talk about, but just for Pistons fans, because I know Pistons fans this week, they're like, where the hell is this coming from? You know, it's Bleacher Report, being Bleacher Report, getting us excited. We got training camp. Got training camp in like less than 3 weeks, man. I'm ready to overreact to some training camp clips. I'm so ready. I'm so there. Honestly, man.